Chapter 511 Teamfight against Shaozhe. Given these problems, Shrek Academy was desperately in need of outstanding individuals who were capable of countering the upper echelon of the Holy Ghost Church. Although Elder Sun was only a single step away from becoming an ultimate Douluo, he clearly knew how difficult it was to step to rank 99. As for Shaozhe and Shenliner, they were still very far from becoming ultimate Douluo, despite already being transcendent Douluo. They weren't the only ones that were far away either. Every soulmaster within Shrek Academy shared this situation. As things stood, what could they do in the face of an ultimate Douluo? Contrary to expectations, an opportunity had presented itself in the younger generation of soulmasters. Honestly speaking, it was impossible for Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong to become transcendent Douluo anytime soon. However, there was still something special about them. Yesterday, all of the Sea Gods Pavilion's elders had been astonished by the strength of their unleashed fusion skills. With their strength, how acute were their senses? The instant that each skill was unleashed, they'd been able to clearly sense that both Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong's abilities had increased to the point that it left all of them shocked. This was definitely not something normally achievable by an 8-ring soul Douluo. Both Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong were extremely talented. Furthermore, their fusion skills were the foundation for miracles. As a result of this, the Academy had considered their options before deciding that they would do everything in their power to help the pair improve their abilities. They would be the key to dealing with the Holy Ghost Church in the near future. Naturally, Huo Yuao didn't know the elders' intentions. To him, Shaozhe was simply here present to test their fighting strength. Of course, this was also part of the elders' plans. The aura released by their fusion skills was one thing, but the strength they contained was another. With sufficient pressure, they would either collapse or demonstrate an even greater level of strength. Every single elder of Shrek Academy was a research expert with many years of teaching experience. They all wanted to see just how much Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong would improve from this fight, as well as how much help they could offer to the pair. Tang Wutong nodded at Huo Yuao. Her gaze became sharper, and her strong belief flowed through his body alongside their Hadong power. The name of this belief was victory exclamation mark I. Even though she knew how difficult such a feat would be, she was still determined to win. This was one of the qualities that a truly strong individual should possess. Tang Wutong and Huo Yuao had rekindled their knowledge of one another. She wasn't just his girlfriend, but his teammate and partner as well. Once, they'd fought side by side not long after entering the academy. 10 years later, today, they were still side by side, yet they now had the ability to challenge the dean of Shrek's martial soul department. How could they not be excited? Once he sensed Tang Wutong's strong fighting intent, Huo Yuao's initially depressed emotions were wiped away. I've already promised to protect her. Since she's so intent on winning, how could I cower away? He rapidly circulated his soul power and interlinked it with Tang Wutong's. Their Hadong power fusing once beyond. He discovered that a part of Tang Wutong's soul power had been filtered out, and that this portion was contained within the sunray pattern of the golden trident on her forehead. Without that portion of her soul power, she was like the old Wang Donga. Her martial soul was still the radiant butterfly goddess. Huo Yuao didn't have any idea what that portion of her strength was. However, it was evident that it was of a higher standard than his own soul power. Initially, their martial souls hadn't been able to fuse due to this portion of her soul power. This had been why there'd been so many misunderstandings. Huo Yuao knew that Tang Wutong's fighting strength would be somewhat affected if she didn't use that portion of her soul power. However, this was two-sided, as it also meant that their Hadong power could finally fuse. This was also what they were relying on to challenge Shaozhe. Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong looked at each other before nodding. A strong aura emerged from both of them, while the whirlwind appeared in both of their eyes as they grasped each other's hand. Currently, the feeling that they gave off was as if they were both the same entity. When he sensed the strong fighting intent coming from them, Shaozhe nodded and smiled. Very good. Let's head to the practice arena. Just do your best. Everyone followed Shaozhe to the practice arena, which turned out to be the same place that Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong had been at together yesterday. Besides the three of them, everyone else stood around the perimeter. Meanwhile, a few of the elders, led by Elder Sun, set up restrictions around the arena. Soon afterwards, a giant barrier engulfed the arena. This practice arena had been constructed atop a mountain. When the restrictions were finished being constructed, they appeared very striking. The dim yellow glow of the barrier engulfed the entirety of the mountaintop. Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong held each other's hand as they stood opposite Shaozhe. Their soul power interlinked as it flowed, and their Hadong power surged. Huo Yuao's physical strength exceeded others of the same rank, even after he gained his 8th soul ring. With the manifold mysterious ice essence, life's gold, and the dragon pill that Long Xiao had given him, he wasn't affected much despite how vigorous their Hadong power was. Right now, Huo Yuao simply felt like the soul power inside of him was surging. At times, it felt like whirlpools would appear. His purely fluid soul power was extremely pure. In fact, there were no impurities in it at all. When such strong soul power flowed into Tang Wutong's body, she didn't seem to feel uncomfortable at all either. Evidently, she was also strong enough to handle it. Their soul powers were completely compatible. The fusion of their fighting strength was more than them just adding their fighting strength together. Their auras quickly rose, after which their strong fighting intent surged towards Shaozhe and suppressed him. Shaozhe smiled, and his body exuded a golden glow. Suddenly, the air within 10 square meters of him started to ripple. It was as if it was being baked by a strong fire. Under such a situation, Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong's immense fighting intent couldn't directly locate Shaozhe's body, and could only remain suspended in the air. Come, little juniors, show me how strong you two can get once you've fused your martial souls. Shaozhe's voice echoed. Following this, a sonorous phoenix roar shook the sky, and an aura that had been repressed earlier was suddenly unleashed. A strong intent suddenly collided with Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong's fighting intent. Suddenly, the air of the practice arena became extremely violent. Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong's clothes creaked as they were blown about, but neither retreated. Huo Yuao released a golden glow from his body, while a blue glow emerged from Tang Wutong's. The two glows then intersected and fused with one another, before spreading outwards and disintegrating the strong intent that Shaozhe had unleashed. Elder Sun and the others from Shrek nodded slightly when they saw this. After fusing their martial souls, Huo Yuao and Tang Wutong were already as strong a titled Douluo. Furthermore, they weren't simply as strong as a normal titled Douluo, else they wouldn't have been able to hold their ground against a rank 97 transcendent Douluo. Promising talents, promising talents. If they both become titled Douluo in the future, they might just stand a chance against an ultimate Douluo together. Elder Sun nodded in satisfaction after he thought this. Next up, it was time to see how effective their skills were in a real fight. Under sufficient pressure, their fighting strength would definitely be fully unleashed. Huo Yuao was the first to make a move, as a rose gold vertical eye slowly opened on his forehead. When facing someone like Shaozhe, how could he afford to hold back? He'd immediately decided to use his strongest ability, the Eye of Destiny. As his Eye of Destiny opened, a strong light flashed, and layers of blinding light filled the air. Afterwards, the circulation of all energy bodies around him seemed to slow down, and both Tang Wutong and his body started to become illusory. This was his spiritual interference domain. Not only that, but Huo Yuao's spiritual detection engulfed the entire practice arena like a web, and he shared it with Tang Wutong. Given his current spiritual prowess and the small range he was focusing on, he was able to see everything in the practice arena in minute detail. Even though Shaozhe had concealed himself, Huo Yuao was able to immediately locate him the moment that he fully unleashed his spiritual detection. His spiritual power was already at the standard for a titled Douluo. Furthermore, only a spiritual type titled Douluo could compare to him in terms of spiritual power, as his spiritual power had reached the concrete material realm. 7 soul rings shone from his body, while 8 flashed from Tang Wutong's. Since only 7 soul rings were present, it meant that Huo Yuao was currently using his spirit eyes, rather than that his 8-ringed Ice Jade Empress Scorpion. His 4th soul ring flashed, after which a whirlpool-shaped glow appeared above Shaozhe. It was Huo Yuao's spiritual confusion. Huo Yuao had long ago thought of a fighting strategy for Shaozhe. If he wanted to overcome him and emerge victorious, his only option was to take the initiative. Only through assaulting and controlling Shaozhe could he prevent this rank 97 transcendent Douluo from unleashing his full abilities. They would only stand a chance if that happened. That was why Huo Yuao had immediately used his spiritual interference domain to protect Tang Wutong and himself initially. Afterwards, he'd used his spiritual confusion to overpower Shaozhe and control him. His spiritual confusion was a single target control type soul skill. While it was only his spirit eye's 4th soul skill, it was the strongest and most effective soul skill he had when it came to controlling a single person. Shaozhe's body turned slightly rigid when he was struck by Huo Yuao's spiritual confusion, and a slightly lost look appeared in his eyes for an instant. At that moment, Huo Yuao's vertical eye lit up, and a blinding, rose gold light shot out. This time, it was his spiritual shock. The spiritual shock from his Eye of Destiny might not be as strong as it was when he was in his martial soul true body, but it could be used quickly. There was no accumulation needed. However, Huo Yuao didn't expect expect Yan Shaosh to suddenly take half a step forwards despite suffering from his spiritual confusion. Afterwards, his body turned entirely golden, and a golden phoenix opened its wings behind him. Yan Shaosh seemed to have safely entered his own world. When Huo Yuao's spiritual shock struck him, Huo Yuao felt as if his attack had struck nothing but air. At the same time, though, it didn't quite feel as if the air it had struck was completely empty. However, the full strength of his spiritual shock wasn't completely unleashed due to this. It was the first time that Huo Yuao had seen something like this. He'd only seen Yan Shaosh exude a golden ring of light from his body, before returning to normal, despite his body being in a momentary state of shock. This was Yan Shaosh's realm. It was similar to Elder Mu's Sovereign's descent. However, Yan Shaosh's realm wasn't the same as Sovereign's descent. Yan Shaosh's own understanding was blended into it, something that belonged solely to him. How could the chief disciple of the dragon god Douluo Nguyen be so easily defeated? Huo Yuao's immense spiritual shock had been blocked, just like that. Huo Yuao was the one left somewhat shocked instead. However, Huo Yuao wasn't the only one who'd attacked. Tang Wutong had made her move, too. The radiant butterfly goddess wings opened up behind her back as her soul rings rose. When Huo Yuao used his spiritual shock, Tang Wutong had mined a lifting action. Afterwards, a golden hexagram array had accurately appeared beneath Yan Shaosh's feet. Tang Wutong had calculated everything precisely. Even if Yan Shaosh managed to block Huo Yuao's spiritual shock, he'd still be affected by it and the spiritual confusion he'd previously been struck with. He wouldn't be able to avoid her hexagram array then, even though the part of her memory that belonged to Wang Donga had only been restored for a short period of time. Her coordination with Huo Yuao seemed to come extremely naturally. Whenever their Haodong power reappeared, their chemistry reappeared alongside it. Just as Tang Wutong had expected, Yan Shaosh wasn't completely fine despite managing to resist Huo Yuao's spiritual shock. When the intense golden light from the hexagram array engulfed his body, he wasn't able to escape from the spot he was standing at. Huo Yuao's sixth soul ring suddenly lit up as he did so. At the same time, the vertical eye on his forehead instantly changed from rose gold to black and white. Even Elder Sun and those sitting outside of the arena shuddered when they saw this black and white vertical eye. A sense of crisis almost instantly appeared in everyone's heads. What soul skill was this? Everyone from Shrek Academy was already very clear in regards to Huo Yuao's abilities. They knew that he was strong, but they didn't know that he could unleash a skill capable of making everyone present feel as if they were in a crisis. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.